This morning I woke up, I jumped in the shower, I went through a basic skincare routine, chewed some mastic gum, I drank my electrolytes and I drove up to the national park. I walked for 45 minutes, it was just me, Teddy, I watched the sunrise and I was in the national park. And honestly, I was smiling the whole time, genuinely, because somewhere in the middle of that walk, it kind of hit me again that I really am the luckiest man alive, really. I got back in the car, I just sat there and meditated. I just thanked God. I drove home, I made some breakfast, and I started building my empire. And that was 7 a.m. on a Monday. And believe me, it wasn't always like this. I went to Bournemouth University, I studied sports psychology, and I found myself in a bit of a rut. I was partying constantly, lots of alcohol, late nights, and all the rest of it. And the whole time, even then, I knew something was wrong. Not wrong with the fun, just wrong with my trajectory, wrong with my direction. Like I was just on this flipping conveyor belt that everyone else seemed fine with, and I couldn't work out why I wasn't. And nobody really talked about it. You just got on with it. You partied more, you drank more, you went out again, and you told yourself this is what being young looks like, right? Then I graduated. I got what looked like the best job in the industry, a proper salary based gym in London, arguably one of the best gyms in the country. And I started on £60,000, right? Incentivized up to 80,000. And on paper, it was everything. Within a few months, I literally felt like I couldn't even sleep. Not occasionally, this was happening every single night. I was lying there completely wired, cortisol through the absolute roof, and my mind was running through every single client list that I had to sort out, trying to figure out targets and all the politics, really. So I was doing 50-hour weeks. This was, of course, someone else's vision, someone else's dream. And my body was in a state of low level emergency from the moment I actually woke up to the moment I actually finally got to sleep. And sure, I was in pretty good shape then. I was training. I guess I looked the part. Nothing how I look now. I'm obviously way more jacked than I used to be. But I felt awful inside. And that's when I understood what this matrix really is. It's really not a conspiracy that everyone said, oh, it's a conspiracy. Really, it's just the default path, right? You go to school, you get a degree, you get a good job, you climb the ladder, and then you retire when you're unhealthy and you're completely burnt out. And everyone around you is doing it, so it feels normal. And this system is set up to make you feel like deviation is the risk when actually staying in that game is the risk. It's your health, right? Like I just said, your time, your entire life handed over in exchange for a salary and the illusion of security. And I didn't have a detailed plan when I left. I didn't sit down and map out a business model. I just knew what I was pretty bloody good at, and that was training. That was getting jacked, right? I was jacked at the time. I understood the body better than anyone else I'd ever met, and I knew that I could help other men transform theirs. So I started. I didn't overthink it. I was just taking action, right? And the rest followed. And there's a lesson in that. Anyway, that was 6 years ago. Now I'm waking up every morning between 4:30 and 5 a.m. I'm doing that naturally without being dragged out of sleep. And I'm doing this with genuine excitement to attack the day, right? And that's not even exaggeration, bro. I actually look forward to getting up. Sometimes I feel like I can't sleep because I'm excited to wake up. And when you're buzzing with energy at that time with nowhere to be and nothing pulling at you, that's when you understand what it actually means to be building from a place of aliveness rather than survival. Waking up with real energy. I don't need an alarm. I don't really need coffee. I enjoy coffee, but I'm just ready to go. And that should be the default for every man. That's not a gift. That's just what happens when you sort the basic shit out, right? I was at a pub yesterday, and a woman told me she'd never been a morning person and that she'd never seen a sunrise. And I couldn't believe my ears, not because I was judging her at all, but because I know exactly what's on the other side of that. And it's available to everyone. You've just been told that it isn't. So nowadays, first thing I do is get up, get in the shower, have some cold exposure. And I do that every morning without exception. Just 2 minutes, 2 minutes in, and I'm literally a completely different person. I'm sharp, I'm present, I'm calm. And there's nothing else that does that as fast. Morning coffee, fine. I'll have that later on. But this is the way, right? And then I go and walk. Right now, I just bought a new car, so I've been having fun with that. But I live next to a national park, which means my morning walk just looks like this: wide open hills, right? No people, just countryside, bombing it down the countryside lanes. I'll then come back, I'll take Teddy, and we'll go out for 45 minutes. No phone, no podcast, just me and my own thoughts. And I know what you're thinking, that sounds kind of boring to some people, but actually for me, it's the opposite. That walk is where I feel in touch with everything, with source, with God, whatever you want to call it, where I solve all these so-called quote unquote problems, where the best ideas come from. Because your brain, especially as a creator, needs this silence to work. So you need to give it the silence that it needs, right? A calm man is a very powerful man. And right now, where I am, most people I know are on a train into London. They're packed in like sardines in grey sky, right? And they're chugging back these energy drinks on the train. And for me, I'm just watching the sunrise over the downs with my dog. And that's not luck either, by the way. This is what happens when you actually decide what your life, how you want it to look like, and then actually build it. So I'll get back. Breakfast, of course, is always real food, of course. Eggs, grass-fed meat, fruit, raw dairy if I have it. I'll have liver once a week. So I'm not calorie counting. You guys have seen it on Instagram. I'm not macro tracking. I just eat real food that is actually food, right? And I let my body do what it's been doing for hundreds of years. It's very simple. I've been training for years, properly, I would say the last 6 years, with proper programming. But the single biggest change in how I look came from I just stopped eating like a flipping bodybuilder and I started eating like a real human being ancestrally. Because your body knows exactly what to do with a steak and an orange, right? It has genuinely no idea what to do with some crappy protein bar. And this is very simple. I always say to people, like, just eat like your great grandfather, right? And that way you're going to look like a Greek statue. And this correlation isn't coincidental at all, man. Believe me. And the irony of all of this stuff, it's funny. It's 2026, and of course, this now seems very radical. Choosing to eat real food, moving your body, going outside, and sitting with your own thoughts. This is now a very countercultural act. And that should tell you everything about how far off course we've become. Anyway, then I'll get to work. I coach a small number of men. We dial in with physique, metabolism, identity, business, all of that kind of stuff. So, of course, no boss, no commute, none of that bullshit. No meetings that I didn't ask for. Something that I've actually built, that I own, that I actually just want to show up to. Anyway, later in the day, I'll usually drive somewhere, maybe the farm shop. I'll drive to the coast, just out and about, go get some coffees for my girlfriend and my dog. Country roads, ripping some good music, no particular rush. And I think this is genuinely underrated as a way to live, really. The quality of your environment shapes the quality of your thinking more than anything else. So if you're surrounded by noise, concrete, and you're in this kind of fight or flight and rushing around all day, that's exactly what your mind produces, right? Come and live somewhere genuinely beautiful and just see what happens. Evening out here, I mean, are unmatched, really. Uh, you've got to see it to believe it. I mean, the light on the South Downs during these golden hours when we do get the sun is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I've been here almost a couple of months, and I still stop and kind of take a step back and I can't believe how far I've come, really. And I just sit there and I think, wow, this is it. And I think that's the point, actually. It's building a life where you're calm enough and present enough to really notice things like that. Because I see it time and time again. Guys are so wired, they're too tired to really notice anything beautiful. And that's not really a character flaw, that's just a physiology problem. And that is completely fixable as well. A lot of guys, they spend their summer hiding, they're in this oversized t-shirt, avoiding the pool, they're talking about what they'll do differently next year. And some won't. But the differences between those men isn't genetics, it's never time, it's definitely not money either, it's just a decision. Right? And this is just a Monday for me. Nothing special. I just wanted to come on here and talk about it because it was a kind of pinch me moment this morning. But this is nothing special, no holiday, no occasion. This is just a day I actually want to be living, and that's what I help other guys build, of course. Not just a better physique, though that's obviously a big part of it, but a very sharp, clear mind, a life that actually reflects the man they know they're supposed to be, a dialed metabolism. And as I always say, the physique is just the entry point, the life is the destination. I work with a small number of men directly on all of this. If that was you, the link's below. Anyway, even if not, if you like the video, give it a like. I'm putting a lot of time and effort into this channel. But thank you for watching. I hope this may have inspired one of you guys hearing this today. Lots of love.